Hey, what's going on guys? It's your boy Meteor Kaiser back again with yet another challenge video. Today we're going to be doing the second part of the Chrono Trigger little thingy I am doing, which is a starting equipment only run. On the last part we essentially got from the beginning of the game up until the fight against Magus in his castle, and we are going to be doing everything else on this part. So let's just jump right into it without any further ado. And if you have not done so already, if you guys could hit that sub button, that'd be greatly appreciated. You could always go ahead and unsubscribe later if you decide to change your mind. Thank you so much and enjoy the video. And feel free to let me know if you have any advice for me in the comments, or if there's any other game that you want me to play next. I am more than happy to take constructive criticism, or if you want to say nice things, bad things, whatever, I don't care. Just any advice that you guys could give me would be great moving forward. Appreciate that, guys. So picking up immediately where we left off, we just had Magus defeated. Very, very difficult boss fight. But immediately he opens a gate and sends us tumbling back into the past. We go all the way back to 65 million BC. And who else is there but to help us out rather than Ayla? Once we awaken, it turns out that Ayla has actually saved us. And we awaken in her house. Next, we're basically told we gotta go to the Dactyl Nest, which is to the north. And the reason we want to get some dactyls is because we want to be flying into the Reptite's lair. Because Ayla's little friend, whatever, cousin, whatever, I don't know, Kino has been kidnapped by the Reptites. And so it's our job to help Ayla out and rescue Kino and defeat the Reptites again. So it's a very cool area. It's really not that difficult though, because a lot of the enemies that you'll be facing are the same Reptites that you fought in the Reptite lair earlier on. I guess it's easier to call the last one the Reptile layer and this one the Chrono layer, because that's what it is specifically. But the enemies are pretty much the same. Some of the Reptites are a little stronger, but you still have like the same little guys that are weak to lightning. And you even have the same boss fight in Nisbel 2. By this point, we have Ayla joining up with our party again, but this time we also have Frog. And this will kind of be my endgame team right here of Chrono, Ayla, and Frog. I will have Frog and Ayla doing a lot of, at least for this dungeon specifically, a lot of healing using their Slurp Kiss, which combines Ayla's Kiss healing move and Frog's Slurp one together to do an AoE healing. Same thing as Oral Wheel with Marl and Chrono, except Chrono is taking more of an offensive role, using a lot of lightning to deal with these guys, because a lot of them, like Nisbel, are weak to lightning. Now his strategy is pretty much the same as his old one. He has 6500 HP, and he's weak to lightning again. He also has a third eye that you can charm off of him. Now let me explain charming. Ayla has an ability called Charm, which is the same thing as like Feith in Pokemon. It's that type of thing where you're able to steal an item from the enemy. So it's useful for doing it, and some bosses are going to have better items than others. So again, his strategy is the exact same as before, just he'll release his electrical energy at a certain point, and then he'll do a charging and ramming attack. He's honestly weaker in this form than in his older one, because we're higher level and he's basically hasn't changed much at all. So the Nisbel 2 fight, not that bad. The more difficult one is the boss fight over here, which is a fight with Azala. Azala is the queen of the Reptites, along with her Black Tyranno, which is just a really giant T-Rex, I guess. This is one of the more difficult boss fights that we've run into, but it's not as bad as it looks. I'll explain what I mean by that. So Azala has 2700 HP and the Black Tyranno has 10,500 HP. Now that seems like a mountain to climb over, but don't worry too much, because what you want to focus on first is Azala, because Azala has a lot of magic abilities. There's teleportation, psychokinesis, and when Azala dies, she'll use Azala Break, which will inflict HP down and does about 30 to everyone. And HP down is going to be very annoying to deal with. However, it is more annoying than dealing with the Black Tyranno, so that's why you want to take care of Azala first. The Black Tyranno itself has a Fire Breath, Slurp, and then those just do single target damage. And then a counter, where it'll go 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. It'll roar, the time spent charging up for a strong attack. During that time, you can use it to heal as it counts. So during the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, make sure you're at full health. And then when it hits 0, it's going to release its store power, which does about between 100 and 300 damage. Now, if you had the ability to wear a Ruby Vest, it would be very useful here. However, we don't, so we're going to be taking upwards of 300. However, it's not bad, because all our party members have easily over 400 HP at this current moment. So just keep focusing on healing in between. the fact that it's pretty much a wind-up attack makes life so much easier. Very tedious boss fight, but Black Chrono is not nearly as difficult as Mage's was. And after we have defeated the Black Tyranno and Azala, we run into another gate that leads us to 12,000 BC. Now this is the Ancient Magic Kingdom, and this is where the majority of the plot is going to be taking place. So we have a few areas here. Basically, it'll start us off in this general looking map area, a lot of snow and stuff. However, there are like teleporters that'll bring us up to a floating island, which is where most of the civilization is here. There are a few cities that you can explore in Hansa, Kajar, and then the Zeal Palace. There's a bunch of side quest stuff that you can do here, like having like a certain seed grow, and it'll help you out for side quest later. It's like cool, but it's not really like I'm focusing on mainly this main story stuff. So there's also a place called the Blackbird, which is basically like remnants of a ship or of a future ship, I guess. And you go there and you'll run into Dalton. Dalton is a character that will be important for later, but the place that you want to make sure that you get to is the Seal Palace. So we get to learn about some of the people here. The other characters are Shala and Janus. Janus and Shala are brother and sister. They are the prince and princess of the kingdom, and their mother is Queen Zeal herself. Basically, there's this whole system of pendants where you have Marl's pendant, which will basically give you access into the main room, which you're not really supposed to be in. Once you go in that room, there's going to be pretty much everyone there. And this charged pendant is going to be very helpful later on as well. So, however, you have to go in and basically everyone's like, hey, get the fuck out of here. Don sends his little golem on you. And, ooh boy, is this an interesting boss fight. Alright, so, the golem has 7,000 HP. You can charm a magic tab out of it. And he basically only has one attack. It's Iron Orb. And it'll cut the character's attack in half constantly. And you can lose. The good thing is you can lose this fight and still go on, which is good for us because I do end up losing it because it is way too difficult, considering he also has another attack where he mimics whatever you do, and they just do massive damage. Like there's these floating up balls that do like 600 damage to me, and it's like the halving I can deal with, but not that. Thankfully, the story will continue as always, so if you want to try and beat it, good luck is all I can say. We die, we get freed by the prince and the princess, and we basically get sent to a gate. We go through the gate and we arrive back in the 65 million BC again. We head to the end of time, and then we want to go to the future this time. Now we want to head over to the Keeper's Dome, because if we head to the Keeper's Dome, we're going to have access to a very useful item that'll basically let us go wherever we want in history. The Epoch, which is a time machine. It was left behind by one of the gatekeepers. We ran into him before, but he was an old man with a creature called a New, and they're basically giving us access to it. And so this basically means we don't have to transport through portals anymore or go through the end of time. We can literally go to whatever time period we want, whenever we want. So once we have the Epoch, we want to head back to our 12,000 BC to try and deal with the Queen again. But before we're able to do that, we have a very difficult boss fight. So we have to go through the Terra Cave, and we'll be talking to the Earthbound ones. Now the Earthbound ones are basically people that aren't able to live up on the sky. You know, peasants, fallen creatures, you know. They don't have magic, essentially, so that's why. But they have very good armor and weapons, so if you can use them, cool. But yeah, anyway, we have probably the hardest boss fight of the game, in my opinion, so far, coming up. The Mud Imp and the Red Blue Beasts. These guys gave me a hell of a time. Now, the Charmables are from the Mud Imp, a Speed Tab, Elixir from the Red Beast, and a Mermaid Cap from the Blue Beast. The Mud Imp has 1200 HP, and both the beasts have 5k. Now, the best strategy for dealing with these guys is to take care of the beasts first, because the Mud Imp has an insanely high defense, and his defense will only be lowered when his beasts are dead. So the Blue Beast is weak against fire, and the Red Beast is weak against water, ice. They don't do too much damage, it's just 3 bosses is annoying. And the Red Blue Beast will charge at you, and the Rock Imp will do small amounts of damages and will cause the beasts to charge. and it'll also negate any sleep. But the best strategy is to put one of the beasts to sleep so you can focus on the other one. Even I thought this was a good strategy. So basically, I swapped out Isla for Luca, who I never used, and used her Hypno Wave on the beasts, and they'll sleep while you pummel the Mud Imp. So you can do that, or you can focus on the Mud Imps, or you can focus on the beasts themselves. It's really up to you. But honestly, this is probably the best idea, because if you put the beasts to sleep, you don't have to deal with them charging, and you could just, even though the Mud Imp has insanely high defense, you could just focus on him, and when the Mud Imp dies, his beast will die with him. So probably your best strat to just switch out and go for Luca, even if you don't like using her. Anyway, once we take care of that, a chain basically appears and we're able to go to this floating island within a floating island. It's weird. It's super... This game is so weird, I swear. But we basically run into Mount Woe. Alright, so there are some enemies in Mount Woe called Rubbles. They basically just look like stones. Extremely good idea is to defeat all of them, because they will give you 1,000 experience and, more importantly, 100 tech points each. It's a little bit late to explain what tech points are, but I've hardly explained anything about this game well. So tech points. I'll just briefly explain what tech points are. They're pretty cool. They're pretty nice. Tech points basically let you learn new techs. That's really all it is. So it's nothing that complicated. Anyway, I would recommend defeating all the Rubbles. There's some good items that you can pick up here. Nothing that really helps me out that much though. Though the barriers are pretty nice. And I will explain while the barriers are helpful, the shields and barriers. Now, shields and barriers are items that you can use to decrease enemy attack by 1/3. And that's going to help us a lot for this boss fight, Giga Gaia. Holy shit. Okay, so you can charm a speed tab from the head, but the head has 9,500 HP, and the hands have 1,000 to 2,000 HP, depending on the version you're playing. Now, I am playing the PC release, so I think they have 2,000, or somewhere around there. Now, the attacks that the head can do is just reviving the hands. The hands are the annoying part. So the left hand can cut HP by 1/2 and can deal an AoE fire attack. The right hand can heal the head, do a water attack to one enemy. And when both hands are alive, they can do two-handed attacks, which is Dark Plasma, which deals light damage of about 80 to 150, and then Double Hand Blaster, which is worse, which does about 120 to 250. So very, very, very scary boss fight. So there's a lot of ways that you can do this, except my way was kind of like the unfortunate way, I guess. It was the way that I was forced to do it, basically. I had Isla and Frog, as usual, focusing on healing with the Slurp Kiss. And I had Chrono pretty much exclusively use Lightning 2 to deal as much AoE as I could to everything at once. Now, Lightning 2 for me is going to deal around 300 damage to everything. So basically, I make sure I have enough ethers to heal up my magic if it gets low, my MP, and I just keep rinsing and repeating. I don't really have a strategy because I don't have options of variety. When just the head is alive, I recommend using Cat Attack with Isla, Spin Cut with Chrono, and then the Falcon Hit is a very, very good way to attack. And I tried using Falcon Hit a couple of times. However, I thought this strategy was just a little bit better of just making sure everyone stays alive. And it only, like, each Slope Kiss only takes about like 4 MP from everyone, so 3 or 4 MP, so it's really good. Anyway, after finally defeating this fucking pain in the ass boss, we're able to move back on to where we were originally before we got casted out into the Zeal Palace. Now, once we make it to the Zeal Palace, we have a little boss fight with Dalton. And comparatively to Giga Gaia, Dalton is a joke. He's got 3,500 HP. You can charm a power meal from him, and he has that same Iron Orb or Iron Sphere, which halves your HP. And he has a burp attack, which inflicts about 150 damage to everything, and it's used as a final attack. So literally the only thing he'll do is half your HP. Even if you have like 7 HP, you'll still live for like 3 turns. So it's same thing. I'll just heal every now and then, except I can be more focused on attacking. So Dalton, pretty easy. Once we defeat Dalton, we're able to move past him and go into the Ocean Palace. Now, the Ocean Palace has the worst enemies in the game by far. These fucking floating eye things that have certain immunities to certain attacks depending on their color. And I'm kind of colorblind, so it doesn't fucking help. Like the red and the light, I'm like, oh god, which one's which? So it made my life a miserable hell. And then the enemies are just very, very strong. So you have to use some of your boss fighting attacks with just regular enemies. A lot of lightning twos. And by this time, thankfully, I get Chrono's best spell, which is Luminaire. Luminaire is essentially like lightning 2, but it's just better. This is probably one of the longest areas of the game, besides from Black Omen. But you just gotta tough it out. Don't use too many of your items because you want to save some stuff for the boss fights coming up. Now you have a couple of fights. The first one is the Golem Twins. Now, very difficult fight as well. Golem Twins have, just like the Golem before, have 7,000 HP each, and you can charm a magic tap from each of them. Unlike the last Golem fight, you have to win this one. Like the other ones, they have the Iron Orb, which reduces the HP by half. They also can use Lightning 2. It's a counterattack that only occurs if they're hit by Lightning or Lightning 2. So if they're left alone without being given a new attack type, they'll use a generic attack that hits a single party member. This inflicts heavy damage. So the copycat ability that they have is very, very annoying. But I don't really have a strategy yet again. I do a lot of grinding, I will admit. A lot of grinding beforehand. I get very lucky with this boss fight. Essentially, I just use Luminaire a lot, because Luminaire does over 1,000 damage each time. So if I can hit off 6 or 7 Luminaires, I'm chilling. So my goal is to basically keep Chrono alive for as long as possible and make sure his MP is nice and charged. Sometimes they'll hit you with really nice attacks like the burp attack, which mimics Dalton, and it does like no damage, and it'll give you enough time to heal up. Or is that might just be what they do before they die. Same thing as what Dalton did when he died. Honestly, my strategy was just level up and do the same thing I've done for every fucking boss fight. Kill with Chrono and heal with the other two. Once we have defeated the Golem Twins, we move forward and we move into an area where pretty much literally everyone is there. The Masamune goes into the giant, weird looking spherical thing in the middle. And guess who gets awoken? Lavos, yay! And we kind of fucking die. Chrono deadass just fucking dies. He a dead motherfucker. He sacrifices himself to get everyone else out of this area. The entire civilization in the sky falls down to the earth, and pretty much all of the survivors are left to, I guess, repopulate humanity for the future. Before we can actually, deal with trying to bring Chrono back, because of course, main character problems. Dalton still appears and is a pain in the ass motherfucker. Now, Dalton kidnaps us and puts him on his Blackbird, that ship from before, in which you basically have to go around collecting all of your items, because you're not going to have all of your equipment. So each area has like a different, like the first character's equipment is in the northwest, second character's is in the door directly north of your cell, third is on the left door all the way in the south, and then the money that you have is on the door on the left of your prison cell, no, the south of the ship, and your items are in the first door on the left on the north area. That's very confusing, and that's just what I read off this fucking wiki page. But basically, you need to go around the entire ship collecting all of your shit again. And once you've finally gotten all of your shit, go to the roof. Because once you go to the roof, you'll be fighting against the Golem boss and Dalton Plus. The Golem boss, Golem Overlord. Easiest fight in the game, because he legit does not attack 1500 HP. But he literally does not do anything. So it's just keep hitting it until it dies. Quite literally. Dalton Plus is actually weaker than his original form. He's got 2800 HP, and all he can do is Iron Orb, yet again. So, very, very, very easy boss fight. The reason Dalton did this in the first place is because he wanted your Epoch, but the Epoch now has the ability to fly, which is pretty dope. And with that ability, it'll be able to lead us into the sort of last boss fight area. However, before we do that, in this sort of surviving a village area, we run into Magus. And we learn that Magus is actually Prince Janus, which is kind of a cool thing to learn. There's two ways you can go about this. You can either recruit him or you can defeat him. If you defeat him, you won't get him into your party. If you recruit him, by not fighting him, he'll join your party. And it's worth for him to join your party, because he's, damn, he's a really good unit, but he hasn't gotten anything going for him, because he has no supporting abilities. He can just attack. He has really good starting equipment, and that's what we want in this, but that's the problem with him, is he doesn't have very good abilities besides from just physical damaging abilities. That's why I don't really use him too much, and I stick to my original party. Now, basically what we have to do is we have to head back to the present to the Millennial Fair. We have to get a clone of Chrono's body from one of the games. There's a magician there that has a clone of him, which is pretty fucking cool, right? Once we have done that, we have to go into the future, into 23,000 AD, and we want to pop off to the Keeper's Dome, where we found the Epoch originally. Now, the new that's there is Balthazar. Now, there are 3 sages that were part of the Magical Society. They got sent off into time. Balthazar into the future, Melchior into the past, and then the last guy I think was sent into the BC, but I can't remember what he did. Melchior was the guy that fixed the Masamune for us, and Balthazar is the guy who gave us the Epoch. Now, Balthazar will basically have one final program to help you get to the area in which you can use to recuperate Chrono back to life, which is Death Peak. Death Peak has a lot of mini bosses in lava spawns. You'll find 3 of them throughout the map when you're going through. They're pretty easy. 4,000 HP head and 12,000 HP shell. Do not even attack the shell, just go for the head. Because if you attack the shell, it's going to counterattack and it's not worth it. So just focus on hitting the head only. Because the Lavos needles will attack and they'll do like up to 300 damage to your party. Not worth it. Basically, just attack the head with physical attacks and you'll be chilling. There's a lot of cool gimmicks in this Death Peak where you have to like hide behind trees to escape wind and things like that. It's really cool. And this area has a lot of higher difficulty enemies. Probably the highest difficulty enemies that you're going to get. Basically, after dealing with 3 of the spawns, you head to the very end and you're basically able to revive our boy. Basically, what you're going to end up doing is you travel to the instant before when Chronos died, and freeze time so you can exchange the clone for Chrono's body right before he was destroyed by Lavos. So that's a little switcheroo. Take the clone and have it die for Chrono. Pretty cool. Now basically at this point, you're supposed to be heading over to the Black Omen, or you could just head straight to Lavos to defeat him. Before you do that, you can go through a bunch of side quests. Each character has a side quest, and if you want to know more about the side quest, I'd recommend finding that online. Like there's one for Frog, one for Luca, one for Marl, one for Magus, one for Frog. I did the one for Frog and I did the one for Robo, I think. But yeah, there's a bunch of side quests. So if you want to go through all of them, that might help you, because to be honest, hey, guess what? It's what you're used to. This is the point of the game where I can't complete it. I unfortunately am going to have to say the challenge from my part ends here. The reason is because, one, I mean, technically I could grind up to like level 999, but the amount of time that would take, I don't think is worth a payout, considering. And like, so for example, going to the Black Omen, you'll have to fight off against the Mega Mutant, and you have to do the Black Omen. You can do the Black Omen up to 3 times. First is in 1080, then 680, and then 12,000 BC. If you do it in that order, you'll be able to get access to New Game Plus. And if you do it in that order, you'll max out your experience. But if you just want to do it once, you could just do the 12,000 BC one. So I tried all of them at different points just to see if it would do any different for me. However, each of these guys aren't terribly strong in themselves. They just have so many freaking status effects, and I have no immunity to status effects because I don't have any rings or any items like that that'll block status effects, and I can't do anything about it. Literally cannot do anything about it. Haste is my best spell and I cannot do anything else about it, so that's a no-go, which sucks. The next part that I could do is I could just skip everything and say, fuck it, let's just fight against Lavos. So you can go straight to the Cataclysm, which is 1999 AD. Just go straight there and fight against the boss. You could skip basically the shell if you just head straight there. But even if I head straight there and just try and fight against Lavos' second form, his core, I can't do anything against him. His attacks will damage you from between 100 to 400, single target or party wide. He has 20,000 HP in his head, 12,000 in his left arm, and 8,000 in his right arm. It's bad, but it's final boss level. That's what you'd expect, right? But whenever I go into the fight, and even at like 700, 800 HP, he does like upwards of 900 damage to me because I have 0 guard. I have 0 defense. Even with mages, it's like still not that good. So I tried several times to see if I could defeat Lavos, but it just did not work. So unfortunately, with that in mind, I was not able to complete this challenge, which is very unfortunate. And I also screwed up on, you can basically get infinite XP if you do the Robo side quest, the walkway, but I also fucked that up and accidentally completed the side quest. You're not supposed to, I didn't know that. probably my fault for not playing the game in 10 plus years, but it's unfortunate, but it is what it is, right? I can't keep winning all of these runs, you know? But anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching. Again, it was really fun. It was very difficult at certain points. It wasn't anything like complicated, but I just had to play careful and I had to play smart. But playing smart and careful still can't beat me the game, apparently. But anyway, thank you guys so much for watching regardless. My name has been Media Kaiser, and I will see you all in the next one. But until then, as always, peace.